multidimensional personality who, through her learnings, through her wisdom, is contributing to the society. It is an honor and a privilege for us, madam, that you are here amidst us, and I invite you to enlighten us with your words of wisdom. Neerja, madam.
Namaste. Honorable Vice Chancellor of Mumbai University, Professor Suhas Patnakarji, wonderful colleague and scholar in her own self, Professor Namita Nimbalkarji, the entire panel of scholars, my co-panelists who are again section, and the participants, which I'm sure are the latest scholars, research scholars, students, and invited guests. To everyone, I offer my pranam, namaste. Thank you so much for making me a part of this wonderful international conference, which is also the commemoration of inauguration of this Center for Studies for Hindu Studies. I'm really elated that the university has thought about opening a center not only for philosophy, but Hindu philosophy. And that makes a difference. At the same time, Namita ji, I am really humbled with the introduction. This much was not required. If you could have briefed it, I would have been comfortable. But now I stand with the baggage of my own CV, and I would try to justify that whole idea, what has gone to the audience. Okay, coming straightway to our concept. There are many things related to the word Hindu. Hindu life, Hindu philosophy, Hindu scripture, Hindu traditions, Hindu civilization, and the entire existence of the word Hindu. So the moment we look at Hindu, there are the layers of other connotations which come up. And we hear texts, we hear mythology, we hear characters, we hear the knowledge systems, we also hear that the entire concept of Bhagwan and Avatar. And it's very important for us to understand the basics of Hinduism first. And I would not say Hinduism, it's a corrupted word. I would say Hindu Dharma. Then we should progress to understand what is actually Hindu Dharma. Because it's a beautiful samas. It's a beautiful blended word, Hindu Dharma. Because Dharma is the base of Hindu. Everything is driven by Dharma. Whatever we do, and Dharma has three basic, what we say, the foundations. And these three basic foundations are Darshan, Gyan, and Vidya. When we see the legacy of these three, they have entirely different legacies. But at the end of the day, when we commemorate all these things together, they create Dharma. So Darshan has its own base because Darshan is a system. Darshan is a parampara. Darshan is that particular sect through which a drashta looks at the other. Though darshan seems to be internal, it's basically an external exercise, because that is how we define particular sect or segment or thinking or thought or maybe the whole custom. So darshan has its own legacy. Then it comes the second thing, which is very important, is gyan. And what is Gyan? Gyan is not limited to something that only knowledge. Gyan is the anubhuti. Gyan is the awakening. Gyan is the self-realization. So Atmik, from Darshan, which is Bahya, we come to Gyan, which is Atmik. And then the third is Vidya. Vidya is particular, pinpointed. A particular field. So we have para and apara. The knowledge about this world and the metaphysical knowledge as well. So these three have such a strong base for dharma. And I'm sure these are the basis of any dharma. But the problem is the moment we say any dharma, the other dharma looks like they look like sects. The dharma is primarily our purpose in life and our urge to perform that purpose. That is dharma. That is obligatory. That is compulsory. But when we name the other religions, and that is why all of us have heard it so many times, that religion is not synonym to dharma. And this is the basic reason, this is the basic segregation why religion is not a synonym to dharma. Religion is a path, but dharma is a platform, what is to be done, and religion tells us how that is to be done. So the basic plate is dharma and religion is the servings, I would say. And then you choose your serving, that which serving suits you more. So you actually pick that particular portion up and start following that particular taste which suits your climate, your culture, your belief, your entire civilizational setup. That is how we can segregate between dharma and religion. So when we say Hindu dharma, then what is Hindu? And Hindu is a Gyan Parampara. Hindu cannot survive itself. I'm not saying Hindu as a human being. Hindu, the basic concept, cannot survive if there is no Gyan. Gita, in its fourth chapter, this is the 33rd verse, beautiful verse, and it says, Shreyan Dravyamayat Yagyat Gyan Yagya Parantapa. Shreyan means the people who are very rich and very, very devoted and very committed, even through yagya, even through donations, they cannot achieve that height. Gyan yagya parahatapa. The extreme elated part is Gyan yagya, Gyan tapa. Gyan yagya, and then the second line is Sarvam Karmam Akhilam Parth Gyane Parisampayati. Whatever you do, at the end of the day, if you don't gain knowledge out of that karma, then that karma has nothing to do with your life. That is dharma. So the dharma is bound with the karma. If our karma don't contribute any elevation of soul, if our karma, it's something like Sthula Sharir and Sukshma Sharir. Sthula Sharir is what we see. So someone is 5 feet tall, someone is 6 feet tall, someone has a very thin body stature, someone has other types of body statures. This is a Sthula Sharir. And the Sukshma and Sthula Sharir has a limit to grow. So after a limit, it stops growing. But there is a Sukshma Sharir, and Sukshma Sharir is the Atma. Sukshma Sharir is the Gyan Kshetra. Sukshma Sharir is the Paramatma. Sukshma Sharir is Ekatma. Sukshma Sharir is the Brahmand. So whatever we do with this Sthula Sharir, that only creates Sukshma Sharir. The Sukshma Sharir cannot grow without the karma of the Sthula Sharir. So karma is base of our growth of Atma, but karma is done on the Gyan we attain. So knowledge is very important, and there starts the study of Hindu Dharma. Hindu Dharma says that Gyan is the base of all karma. If we don't have Gyan, if you don't have Samyak Buddhi, if we can't segregate between do's and don'ts, then we cannot work, we can't perform. And if we can't perform, we just can't grow. To grow from the base self to the elevated self, we need to perform. So Hindu Dharma basically starts with darshan, gyan, and vidya. And why do we work? Why should? What would happen if we don't work? How does it matter if we don't grow? It's okay if I don't know God, I don't know God, but I have money, I have luxury, I have such a birth that I can enjoy, then it's okay. Why I should work? Then comes the next dictate. Let's see, we have three conditions. And the three conditions are Sat, Chit, and Anand. Sat is the truth. Chit is the basic, what we say, the heart. And Anand is the pleasure, but not pleasure in just temporary or temporal pleasure. The Sat is the absolute being, but at the center is Chit. Now, Chit is the conscience. Chit is that Chaitana, which is not your alone. We are not islands. Whatever we have, we feel, we do, we think, it actually traverses to others. So, Chit is not alone. Chit is not only ours. Chit belongs to Brahmand. The way we think or we act, the way our conscience thinks, and that is why in Indian tradition and Hindu tradition, the planets are also not matter, they are the being. They have Chaitana. So the planets also are taken as the living being because the conscience runs over there. We are connected. We are a connected self. That is why Chit is important. So at the center is Chit. On one hand is Satya and the other hand is Anand. This Anand is the blessed state. Paramanand. Anand is the ultimate. Whatever we do in life, whether we do right or wrong or truthfulness or lies or deceit or loyalty, whatever we do, we only are driven by the word Anand. That gives us pleasure. Whether the pleasure is momentary or it is a very long elected time or whatever, the universal pleasure, but we all work for pleasure, we all aspire pleasure. So Anand is the Lakshya. We have to reach to that state of Anand, but both Satya and Anand depend on Chit. The moment Chit shakes, the moment our conscience shakes, our Satya and Anand, they also shake. And today, these centers are very important because we don't understand what is Chitta. We don't understand what is the Prakriti, because Chitta again depends upon the Prakriti. What is the basic that will only create the Chitta? That is why in our languages, as Namita ji says, I know many languages, at least in these languages I have tested, that there is only one word, and the word is the same word for example, in Sanskrit, in Hindi, in Indian tradition, it's called Prakriti. Bahir and Antar, both external and internal, the human nature and the outer nature. मनुष्य की प्रकृति और बाहर की प्रकृति, बाह्य प्रकृति, कुदरत, इंसानी कुदरत और बाहरी कुदरत, same word. Why? Because we are the same elements. The same elements have created the outer nature as we are being created. So the Prakriti is very important, and Prakriti in Hindu Dharma is divided into two parts. And what are these? They are Istri and Purush. So we have the Purush Tattva and we have the Istri Tattva, and out of that the words are coined like Purushatva and Istritva. Now what happens in today's society, take an example, that we are trying to behave like Purush. It is said to be, if you act like a man, you are more celebrated. And that is why even for the performing ladies, the sentence is used, बहुत पुरुषत्व किया है, पुरुषत्व. Why the lady can't perform through Stritva? But Stritva is said to be somewhere the weaker connotation, while the Purushatva means courageous. And here comes the problem. If we don't act according to Prakriti, because the basic of Stritva is Mamatva, and the basic of Purushatva is Rakshatva. And we see in the society, even a 5-year-old boy will be sent with a 18-year-old girl to say, nahi, bhai ko lekar jao. ठीक रहेगा, don't go alone. So why? Because the Purushatva has that Rakshatva as inherent being. And similarly, if someone is very affectionate, very compassionate, very soft-hearted, we say, oh, girl-like. Why? Because the Mamatva is the basic inherent trait of Stritva. Here I remember a small, beautiful poem by Rabindranath Tagore. There is a small girl, and she's about 2 years old, and she asked her mother, when I was born. No, answer was very easy. The mother could have told her birthday, but this is the mother, created by Tagore. So see the reply, what mother gives. The mother says, well, you were born when I was of your age, and I held the first doll in my hand, you were born. So it's inherent, basically. So Prakriti has divided everything into masculine and feminine. And wherever we try to touch that inherent trait or legacy, the chit is disturbed. The inherent traits are disturbed. And to create the harmony then is a bigger task. So in this world, the absence of war is not peace. It's the absence of harmony, which is what we call peace. Our Shastra says, Ano Bhadra Kritvo Yantu Vishwatah. Whatever is good in the world, please take, gather, collect from all directions, anything which is good. But then what to do? Should we become the basically capitalists, that we just hold everything which is good and then keep to ourselves? No. The next sutra says, Vadani Janebhya. Whatever I have has to be given back to the world. And there lies the another trait along with Gyan of Hindu Dharma. And the second trait is Karuna. If you can be compassionate, if you can relate to the other person, if you can empathize with other people, then only you can live peacefully. That is what the Hindu Dharma is about. It says that you have to join other on the basic of knowledge, following the traits of this nature. You have to join other if you want to live in a peaceful society. Again, I'm quoting from Mahabharata here. It is said that once it was decided that there would be a Kurukshetra or Mahabharata. Then Arjun went to Krishna and said, Madhav, would you be with us? So Madhav said, well, Arjun, I would have loved to be with you if there had been any adharma. But I don't think I should be with you because everything is dharma. So Arjun asked Madhav, you are saying this? You came down to save Draupadi. How can you say there was no adharma? You don't find anything happening on those basics in that particular Nyaya Sabha? Krishna says, what was there which was adharma? See, there were two players. They had already laid down the rules. They had already understood the rules. So they were playing with the ethical knowledge of the rules. What is wrong in that? There was a king, Dhritarashtra, who actually was there to look after that if adharma is happening. But both players were following the rules, so Raja was also right. Then there was the commander, chief commander, Senapati, that is Bhishma Pitama. What is the duty of a commander? If an enemy attacks, then he has to respond. But there was no enemy there. So why should he speak? He was following his dharma. So the players were following their dharma. The Raja was following his dharma. The Bhishma Pitama was following his dharma. Then there were gurus. The duty of the guru is, if the king follows a niti or durachar, then the guru have to advise to the kings. But then there was nothing which was beyond dharma. Everyone was sitting there performing their own dharmas. So why should guru speak? Now Arjun started crying and said, Madhav, please tell me, what is adharma? Then what Krishna says comes to the crux of the dharma. Krishna says, look, they were all performing individual dharma. And when you perform individual dharma, it is not called dharma, it is called kartavya. The base of dharma is karuna. Dharma ka mool karuna hota hai. If there is no karuna at the bottom, if two players don't empathize with each other, if the king can't empathize, if the senapati can't empathize, if the gurus can't empathize, then dharma was not followed. Therefore, everything that happened in that house that day, though they were all following the rules, still is called adharma. So Hindu dharma says Gyan, Dharma, and then comes the whole of the legacy, and that is the Shreniya. What are the Shreni? One is Praman and one is Drishta. Praman means that how many types of evidences do we have? The Western world says anything which is pratyaksha, which we can sense with our sensory system, is called Praman. So that limits our evidence system, and then we say Pratyaksh is Praman. Whatever we can see, we can hear, we just read, we can touch with this body, that limits. But the Indian knowledge system says there are 6 types of Praman, and Anubhav is also Praman, Anuman is also Praman, Sambhav is also Praman, Shabd is also Praman, and there are such big Praman, we say Pran Jai par vachan na jai. So the whole system is based on those Pramanas which actually lead to the experimentations in sciences. Gita says Jnanam Vijnanam Sahitam. So Vigyan is the integral part, and Vigyan means there has to be one hypothesis and the one has to be the methodology through which we test the hypothesis and then declare it null and void or successful conclusion. So here, when we speak of Anuman as a Praman, Sambhav as a Praman, we are actually endorsing the whole system of hypothesis. Otherwise, how do we imagine only anything which we are going to test in our research? So Hindu Dharma should not be limited into the scriptures, into all those religious texts and religious books. That is why we have 2 traditions, Shruti and Smriti. And then comes the written text. So Shruti and Smriti are as important systems of Hindu Dharma as the written scriptures. And when we lay down all these 3 systems, Shruti, Smriti, and the Likit, then we understand that what the span of Hindu Dharma is. Its philosophy basically is very simple, but the methodologies are complex. They are integral. They are they follow the multipolarities and their other systems in that. When we talk of the types of diseases, the Charak Samhita says, and why I'm calling it here while quoting, you would understand when I say the 5th type of disease, and that is the base of Hindu Dharma. It has to cure that disease. So it has a parampara of Shastra. Otherwise, why should we read the scriptures? What the scriptures would give us? The scriptures, they purify the Antahkaran and Bahyakaran. Karan is the tool, Karan is the methods through which we use something, and that is why there are 2 types of tool. One is mantra and one is tantra. Mantra means man, which we internalize, which we chant internally. Tantra is tan, body, which is shown outward. So mantra and tantra means rituals and chanting. Chanting is for ourselves, rituals are for the world. And then karan, so antahkaran and bahyakaran. So it purifies the antahkaran, it purifies the bahyakaran. And to do this, we need to clean the system. As Charak Samhita says, there are 5 major illness. So first he describes the illness, then he describes the upchar or the therapy. But today, if we analyze those therapy, we understand that how corrupt the therapy themselves have become. So the first type of illness, he says, illness of thought. Illness of thought means how he dushit ho gaye hai. Our thinking process has been corrupted. So he says the therapy for correcting the bhav is darshan. Darshan is we need to, understand each other from vad, vivad to samvad. But how this samvad has been corrupted, today it has gone to atankvad. And we have failed in our thinking, we have failed in our speech. That is why we are using our hands, where our whole system of darshan has collapsed. We don't have patience to listen to others. We have just to speak. So there is no dialogue. There is only monologue. And because there are so much of monologues, so we are full of anger. Everyone is restless. Everyone is full of anger. Everyone is so much dissatisfied with everything around that. So there is no peace. Why? Because there is no dialogue. Because dialogue needs peace, patience, tolerance, because it has to give space to other. So the system, what he says, the therapy, what he proposes itself has gone to corrupt. The second illness, he says, hriday or bhav. If we want to show our happiness, we don't know whether the happiness is genuine or not. We have learned how to hide our feelings. If we don't like someone, we have no courage to say that, okay, I can't like. We have to show that extra affection. So we're not true to our own things. And the upchar, the therapy, what Charak says is, it is sahitya. If we read good literature, it trains us how to be true, how to be honest. But what is Sahitya? Sahitya is not only opening a book and reading it like a book. Sahitya means Pathan, Manan, Vachan, Chintan, Lekhan. These are the steps of Sahitya. How many of us are involved into it? Even one research paper, we can't be honest. We are just copying and pasting. We don't know what we have written there. We are not true to our feelings, what we are projecting to others, whether in writing, whether in speaking, whether with our gestures. We have learned the art of feigning. So even this therapy has been corrupted. The third illness, Charak says, is the body. Body is, we have fever or fracture or some sort of ailment or disorder. And he says the therapy is Ayurveda. Ayurveda means the 5 elements and we need to balance them. But today, if you see the therapies, whatever medicines we take, they themselves create another epidemic. So there are after effects. There is no surety that this therapy will cure the body or the illness or ailment. The fourth illness, he says, is the Vani dosh. And he says it's a big illness because whatever we have, faced in our life, 3/4 of it is because of the speech. We have no control over our words, whether written or spoken. And we immediately react and then we give such a reaction or reply, which actually leads to another type of problem like tensions or body measurements, anatomical measurements are disturbed and we face tension and whatnot. And he says the therapy is dramaturgy, Vaiyakaran. What does it mean? It means that you have the onus of the meaning also. You have to go to the meaning also. Till then, please don't speak. If you can't digress all the meanings of what you are going to say, then our Vani will be controlled. And the last illness he says is Agyan. Agyan is ignorance. Don't know many things. And the therapy is not Gyan. Normally, when I on the live stage and I ask, okay, tell what would be the suggested therapy for Gyan, people say Gyan. He says, even the most Gyani person can be a Gyani in some area. So the therapy of Agyan is Natya. Natya, such a lok thing. That is what the tradition of oral texts come. Why the Shruti and Smriti? Because that is the highest influencer on the people who basically are not literate even, but if you have to teach the entire civilization, then perform. But today, if we go to the Natya Parampara, then whether you go to TV serials or to the movies or to the YouTube or whatever form of visual we are giving them, it's all in such a corrupted form, such digress form that they cannot teach the generation. So the basics of Hindu Dharma are, it's very clear that the knowledge systems, if you follow them, it is so easy to understand that what will be the philosophy that is to be given to the students or to the new generation or to the researchers. The whole Gita says that there are 5 elements which ensures 100% success. So 20%, 20%, 20%, like that, 5 elements. Now, what is the 5 element? That is Adhishthanam, Tatha Karta, Karanam, Cha Prathak Vidham, Vividhascha Prayogascha, Daivam Chaivatra Panchanam. Adhishthanam. Adhishthan is this body. These are the tools how we will be successful. So Adhishthan is the body. Now body can also mean the organization or the place we are working, even this world, even this Brahman. This is all Adhishthan. Then the second is Karta. Who is the doer? What is the intention of the doer? What is the match of the karma and the doer? Is he really liking? Or otherwise, a disinterested Karta can never assure us with the success. The third is Karanam. Karan is the tool. As I said, Antah Karan, Bahya Karan, Tantra and Mantra. Which tool are we applying to? The fourth is Prathak Vidha. Prathak Vidha means we have to employ multiple skills. Vivid Cheshtayam, and not once, with different types of methodologies. With one methodology, we cannot ensure the success. And the fifth, he says, Daivam. Daivam is Bhagya. Now, Bhagya is not something which is not in our hand. It is a wrong perception. Bhagya is made on past karmas. So ultimately, it comes down to karma. Whatever we do, it creates our bhagya. We say we take a baggage of our past birth. पिछले जन्म की वजह से मेरा भाग्य ऐसे है, बट पिछले जन्म की वजह से नहीं, पिछले जन्म के कर्मों की वजह से. So ultimately, it's all based on karma, and karma is done on knowledge, and knowledge comes with the related empathy and the understanding of the larger world, that what is our dharma. This is you may call it a linear understanding, or you may call it a circular understanding, you may call it a vertical or horizontal understandings, but ultimately the Hindu philosophy is absolutely scientific. We can test it as many times in our contemporary perspective, and then going back to our scriptures, they almost create the same vibes and same nuances. Therefore, the basic genre of Hindu Dharma is again very different from the other genre of other dharmas. With this, I thank you very much for inviting me for this platform and giving me this particular opportunity to appear before you. Thank you. Thank you so much.